Will we, as John wrote, never quit? Will we not hide from history, but make history?
Tonight on Cronkite News, President Joe Biden visits the Valley today to deliver a speech on democracy and pay tribute to the late Senator John McCain.
Plus, Sun Devil men's hoops is back in action, how they plan to top last season's success with a whole new squad.
And ASU women's hockey head back to the ice for their first match. What makes this season opener different from others? Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Beatrice Martinez.
And I'm Paul Schultz. Thank you for joining us.
Our top story tonight, President Biden visits the Valley, delivering a speech on democracy and his late friend, Senator John McCain.
Cronkite News reporter Sydney Whitty was at the event.
President Biden announced he approved federal funding for a library and museum in honor of the late Senator John McCain, whom he spoke very highly of. He also highlighted the importance of bipartisanship. Public officials, former football stars, and Biden supporters gathered to hear the president speak on John McCain's legacy. Before the president took the podium, Cindy McCain took a moment to honor her late husband and President Biden.
While John and he differed on many political issues through their respective careers, the great causes that brought them together and were most important to our nation are shared in this venture.
The president reflected fondly on their friendship.
The hammer and tong debates we'd have in the Senate, we'd argue, we're like two brothers. We'd argue like hell. I mean, really go at one another. Then we'd go to lunch together. No, not a joke. Or John would ride home with me. I mean, we travel the world together.
President Biden encouraged citizens to stand up for democracy and its institutions.
We should all remember, democracies don't have to die at the end of a rifle. They can die when people are silent, when they fail to stand up or condemn the threats to democracy.
Biden closed his speech by highlighting that we should hold ourselves accountable.
Now's our time to continue to choose and secure a sacred cause of the American democracy. I know we can meet this moment. John knew we could meet this moment. He believed, as so many patriots before him did, the character, destiny, and our own lives, and the life of this nation. He believed in us. That's what we see in the McCain Institute and Library.
The president repeatedly described the United States in one word: possibilities. He also encouraged all U.S. citizens to go out and vote. In Tempe, Sydney Whitty, Cronkite News.
Thank you, Sydney. We'll have more news and updates on the looming government shutdown later in the show.
The Arizona Diamondbacks just lost the last game of their White Sox series 3-1, but they are still inching closer and closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, the wild card race is still tight, and it could come down to the Snakes' final regular season series. Fans will have a chance to see what the future holds for the D-backs as they come back to Chase Field to take on the Houston Astros. Houston is in a wild card race of its own in the AL West, so every game will matter. First pitch of the series will be thrown at noon on Friday, and tickets for the Snakes Fan Appreciation Weekend are on sale now.
One person who knows a thing or two about the postseason is Hall of Fame pitcher Randy Johnson.
Yeah, he won the World Series in 2001 with the D-backs, and Arizona still holds a special place in his heart. Trey Matthews caught up with Johnson today and joins us from the newsroom with some advice from the big unit.
Yeah, guys, Johnson stopped by Arizona State's Cronkite School today for a photography event, but took the time to talk about the Diamondbacks' intense wild card chase. You mentioned Johnson's World Series title with Arizona, and while he thinks this year's squad is talented, they don't have the one thing that his 2001 team had, which is experience.
The 2001 was all veteran. That's probably why we won the World Series. This team, the average age is probably 23, 24. The average age on our team back in 2001 was probably 29 to 33. And we were all well experienced. I mean, and this team is learning on the fly. There's a couple of kids that are the veterans on the staff. Other than that, you know, there's a lot of young kids.
Johnson was quick to highlight that the Diamondbacks are ahead of schedule for a young team, and despite what happens this season, there is still a bright future and the foundation has been set Of course, if they do make a postseason run, Johnson offered this advice.
Enjoy it, enjoy it. I've been retired for, 13 years now, so some of these kids were probably, playing in high school. But the only advice I can say is enjoy it because it doesn't happen all the time. For some teams and some players it did. They were very fortunate, but for other players, it's just something that happens maybe once in a career.
You can bet that Johnson will be watching as he keeps close tabs on the team he said he played his greatest baseball with. So he's hoping for the best for the Diamondbacks organization. In the newsroom, Trey Matthews, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Trey. Hockey season is finally back, and Arizona State's women's team will start their season tonight in hopes of defending their WWCHL title. Tonight is not a normal opener for the Sun Devils. They're set to play the Maryville Saints at 9:15 p.m., the same team that beat them in round one of the national tournament back in March. Junior forward Sam Murphy says that her team is excited for the challenge and hopes for a different outcome.
This is a huge game for us. This is a really big statement game as a team. Maryville has been consistently ranked as a top 5, top 10 team, and these past couple of years have been our first years breaking into the top 10. So it would make such a massive statement for our team to beat them not once but twice this week, and also would just be kind of sweet revenge.
Building a culture around greatness has always been important to head coach Bobby Hurley's men's basketball program. And with a lot of changes made since last season, the team hopes to repeat last year's success or exceeded. Cronkite News reporter Kenji Ito attended their first practice for an inside look.
Ending the 2022-23 season on a high note, making the NCAA tournament. Head coach Bobby Hurley hopes to pursue another 20-win season in his final year in the Pac-12.
You're never satisfied, and you're never content with anything you're doing. We had a great season last year. How do we take further steps and get better? We want to try and compete for championships and win games in the NCAA tournament and do more, and so that's kind of the goal for us.
With only 4 players returning from last year, junior point guard Frankie Collins accepted his role as a leader as 14 players left from graduation, the transfer portal, and draft.
One thing I have to do is be a better leader, because at the point guard position, you have to be the coach on the floor. And even now that since we've been back, I hang out with everybody all the time, and we still get to know each other. We learn more stuff about each other every day. So just building those leadership qualities, those leadership habits, it carries over to the floor.
The Sun Devils begin their non-conference play against the Mississippi State Bulldogs in the Barstool Sports Invitational. In Tempe, Kenji Ito, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association has extended Turf Paradise's contract to simulcast races for wagering until November 12th. The extension avoids a shutdown of the track's 37 off-track betting sites, and a new live horse racing meet is scheduled to start in early January. The news comes a week after the facility said it would cease live racing and off-track betting operations on October 1st. Earlier this year, owner Jerry Sims announced plans to retire, and the Arizona HBPA contract was set to expire. Turf Paradise has been in business since 1956.
Coming up next, the Arizona high school football team trying to get back in the game. How they plan to make a comeback with limited players.
And we're just a day away from the weekend. It's going to be a beautiful one. We're talking temps in the 80s. Your full forecast coming up after this quick break.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage.
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news.
The bill also gives parents the ability to see.
And entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
The
Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
This is CN2 Go. I'm Emily Olson with your Wednesday news briefing.
Do you want to create innovative content for Cronkite News? Do you enjoy listening to podcasts? Then CN2 Go is for you. Cronkite News to Go is a podcast where students cover the latest headlines. Students become audio producers and hosts and will learn how to write, record, and edit stories. You can listen to the latest episodes on these platforms.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
Welcome back. The Catalina Trojans started off 3-0 for the first time since 2005. But while the high school football team hasn't remained undefeated, they're making the most of a very thin roster.
Cronkite News reporter Danny Stepanovich has more on how the Tucson team is turning things around.
3 years ago, Catalina football head coach Greg McKinstry II took over a program with only 5 players. No freshman team, no JV team, and no varsity team.
It was a culture that was kind of within the football program at that time. A lot of kids were complacent, and also just the fact that, oh, you know, I don't have to really come out here and work and put in the work in the offseason when nobody's looking.
But they're slowly finding some success. Senior running back Sage Antone erupted with a 215-yard rushing performance in Catalina's 3rd win on September 8th.
I was happy because it hasn't been like this since in Catalina since I don't know how long, but I was just really happy just to be 3-0, staying together, and hopefully over the years we'd get better, and it did pay off.
The Trojans currently have 28 players rostered on the squad, but it's still the most McKinstry has had to work with in his short time here. However, due to grades, only 14 players were eligible in their season opener, and they still pulled out the win, meaning some players had to play 2 positions. Well, offense and defense, but you get the point.
And it sucked because I was on everything. I did not come off the field. And I remember after the game, I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to get on a bus to go. I just wanted to lay down. It was just.
But McKinstry has done an amazing job of rebuilding the program from the ground up.
Our freshmen that have come in, I want to say I only have 3 kids that have played football out of probably 12.
Despite receiving multiple job offers from other schools, McKinstry is determined to build Catalina into a respectable program.
I mentioned that I coach at Catalina. People kind of go, there's a sigh, and they're like, oh man, you're a brave person. So the image about students in general at Catalina, we're kind of viewed amongst some people as having bad students. So my goal was to try to change that.
McKinstry said his 4-year plan is on track. It started with changing the culture, and now it's time to win some games. In Tucson, Danny Stepanovich, Cronkite News.
Well, it's perfect weather for a football game, and Paul, it's about to get even cooler.
Yes, it is, and Evan Reiser joins us now from the Weather Center with what we can expect.
All right, guys, yeah, it will start to cool off. We'll see it at 96 right now, and it will be on the steady decline through the night as we'll see it dip below 90 to 87 here at 10 p.m. But as we take a look, big picture, we'll see some showers in the northwest. They'll start to move south through California and into Arizona on Sunday as we'll see them enter the central part of the state on Sunday. As we take a look at tomorrow's low temperatures, we will see 74 here in Phoenix, 41 up at the Grand Canyon, and 67 down in Tucson. But unfortunately, tomorrow we'll be back up in the hundreds on the high. 103 statewide high here in Phoenix, and even 100 down in Tucson, and 79 up at the Grand Canyon. But some exciting news in the 8-day forecast. It'll be 103 tomorrow, but then we won't see 100 again. 99 on Saturday, and then in the 80s on Sunday with a high of 87. That'll stick around through Monday before we get back into the 90s on Tuesday, where we stay for the rest of the week, and we'll see a high of 98 on Friday. In the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Evan Reiser.
Thank you, Evan. I'm Emily Mai, and coming up next, I'll have your Cronkite News Briefing. With the deadline fast approaching, a government shutdown is looking more and more likely. We take a closer look at what a government shutdown would mean for as many as 50,000 workers.
This is CN to Go. I'm Emily Olson with your Wednesday News Briefing.
Do you want to create innovative content for Cronkite News? Do you enjoy listening to podcasts? Then CN to Go is for you. Cronkite News to Go is a podcast where students cover the latest headlines. Students become audio producers and hosts and will learn how to write, record, and edit stories. You can listen to the latest episodes on these platforms.
Ain't no time for imitation, ain't no time for playing. I'm just gonna do me.
Know what I'm saying?
Try to stay out of trouble.
Where's the fun in that? You know how ladies can be.
I'ma do what I do.
Stream the best of PBS on any device with the PBS Video app. All your favorite drama, history, science, news, and documentaries, all in one place. Watch your PBS station live or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and locally produced shows from your station.
Sign in and start streaming today.
And that's the way it is. Monday, September.
Newscasting has changed a lot since the time of Walter Cronkite. That's why here at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, you can learn the studio production skills of today in real time. Whether you want to work audio, direct, technical direct, design graphics, or you can even run the floor. It's all part of the Television Production and Graphics Lab here at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. We're going on in 3, 2...
Welcome back. I'm Emily Mai with news from around the country and Arizona. With just 3 days until the start of the next fiscal year, Congress does not appear to be anywhere close to passing a budget. And without a budget, much of the federal government would shut down on Sunday, affecting as many as 50,000 federal workers in Arizona. Renee Romo has more from our Washington bureau.
Besides delaying pay for federal workers, a shutdown would suspend some services and squeeze the economy, which is why one economist called shutdowns wildly unpopular and extremely unwelcomed.
It's the federal government's job. It's why we pay taxes. You know, they should learn how to govern, learn how to live in a budget, and learn how to spend.
According to the Congressional Research Service, more than 2 million civilian workers would stop being paid Sunday in a government shutdown. 32,000 of them are in Arizona, where there are also 17,000 active duty military who would be affected. Essential federal workers like soldiers, TSA agents, and Border Patrol will still have to show up for work, even though they won't get paid.
Those people that will be servicing them will be basically forced volunteers at that point. And then you have this kind of ripple effect in the economy where all of those employees that aren't receiving pay will probably be delaying purchases. So
That buying slowdown will hit small businesses. And for those businesses that also contract with the government, it's a double whammy. In the last shutdown, 41,000 contractors were affected in Arizona alone, putting $24 million at risk.
Putting that amount of money at risk is just not, it's just not helpful, and it kind of breathes more uncertainty into the ups and downs of small business.
That uncertainty is likely to continue. No budget bill has been passed, and a stopgap proposal to keep the lights on is stalled in the House. Business leaders are hoping for a breakthrough, but
unfortunately, hope is not a strategy anymore for us, and we've seen in past sessions that this political leadership will allow a shutdown to happen.
if the government does shut down this weekend, it would be the fourth in the past 10 years. The most recent being in 2018 to 2019, which was also the longest ever at 35 days. In Washington, Renee Romo, Cronkite News.
Not everything comes to a stop in a shutdown. Mail will still be delivered, Social Security checks will be sent, but passports won't be processed, and you can expect longer lines at the airport, among other impacts. Meanwhile, the first impeachment hearing against President Joe Biden began today, led by House Republicans. The House Oversight Committee is investigating President Biden's knowledge and involvement in his son Hunter's business deals overseas. Several witnesses testified today, including tax law and criminal investigation experts. And at times, it got contentious from politicians on both sides of the aisle.
At least 10 times, Joe Biden lied to the American people that he never spoke to his family about their business dealings.
This is an embarrassment to the time and people of this country.
The White House contends that the president did nothing wrong. And back here in Arizona, a senior advisor announced that Republican Kari Lake will soon launch her campaign for the U.S. Senate seat currently held by independent Kyrsten Sinema. Lake's senior advisor confirmed that Lake will open her campaign with a rally on October 10th. Lake is expected to be the GOP frontrunner for the nomination in a race that will likely have national attention. And that's it for the news from across the nation. In the newsroom, I'm Emily Mai. Now, back to Beatrice and Paul at the desk.
Thank you, Emily. And coming up next, the next story is bussin'.
Yeah, not sure what that means. Stick around and find out after the break.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage,
against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news.
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
And entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
Three, two, one. Cronkite News. Get real professional experience in areas such as reporting, broadcast editing, and behind-the-scenes production, such as technical director and audio.
Kill the mics.
Or go out in the field and cover important local stories.
Learn and master the English language
in a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Cronkite News. The future starts now.
Here at the Walter Cronkite School, students produce award-winning content that focuses on health disparities in underserved communities and how to turn things around. In Cronkite News and Cronkite Noticias, students cover stories that affect people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, people with disabilities, and others across the Southwest.
We highlight big problems that are often overlooked in communities that are underserved.
Those stories not only inform and educate people about the challenges, but we work hard to highlight potential solutions. In the Cronkite Agency, students work to connect with community members through social media campaigns in English and Spanish.
Being a Hispanic myself, it's nice to be able to give back to my own community.
Find more of our health coverage at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Some people consider grammar and spelling to be a pretty mid subject compared to art class and gym, which are goated.
I agree, writing is no thirst trap, but the people at Merriam-Webster think the English language is bussin'. Now, if you didn't know what those words if you didn't understand those words in the intro, don't worry, you can now find all the meanings of all these words in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Bussin', for example, is a slang word that describes something as extremely good or excellent. 690 other new words, acronyms, and definitions have been added to the pages of the book this year. Some more words that made the list are chef's kiss, riz, grammable, generative AI, forever chemical, and girl boss. I gotta be honest, I don't know what half those words mean, but hey, now they're in the dictionary, so I can figure it out.
That's right. My favorite one is girl boss. Let's go. That's it for Cronkite News. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.